everybody, and welcome back to the Go Tops Pod. I am Alex Cooney, and I'm joined by my co-hosts EJ Temmie and Nathan Kennan. Today, we're very excited to welcome Scooter Galloway with us. He is the manager of the Bellarmine Knights Men's Basketball program. He is a graduate from Bellarmine in 2018, where he was a student there. He was a student manager for 4 seasons and then transitioned to being a student coach in his final year. So, Scooter, thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty exciting time around the Bellarmine program. I know the Knights transitioned to the Atlantic Sun Conference recently. They moved up from the Division II Great Lakes Valley Conference. So I guess I was just kind of curious, how has the transition been to Division I basketball for the Knights?
So the transition's been as good as it can be. This year's a little bit different, as we all kind of can tell with COVID. I wish everything I could say it's been perfect, but there's been lots of ups and downs. Everything's changing day to day. But as far as a program, we haven't really let any of that kind of, get us down. We're still doing the same things we would in Division II. We still carry on each day how we would. It's just, we go travel a little bit different, new names for opponents, but everything's just kind of the same. It's just a different conference.
Yeah. So Bellarmine started off the season. You guys are 1-2 so far. You got your first Division I win ever against Howard, 84-63. What was the mood? I mean, what were people like in the locker room after the win? I mean, did the coaches say anything special? How was that experience?
So it's weird. I'm getting like goosebumps when you ask me that question. Like to start our whole transition, we started out at Duke that Friday, and that was cool. Everybody loves that experience, not to overshadow Howard or anything like that, but to start off our Division I like journey, it's at Duke, and it's weird because there's no fans, there's no Cameron crazies, it's just us. We've got 3, our president, our vice president, and our AD. That's the only people that are there supporting us, and it's just it's everybody in our program is supporting each other, and we carried that on. We learned a lot from that Duke experience. We go in Howard, we don't even, because of DC regulations, we couldn't have a shoot around time in DC. So we did, our coach has said it 1,000 times, and I kind of laugh when I say this. We did a walk too. We went to like the mall, we walked around, we looked at the sites, and it's very, especially for me, I went to DC as an 8th grader. So, I've had that experience, but I would say, 10 out of 12 of our guys that made the trip, they'd never been there before. And it was just really kind of cool to watch our players, get very, very excited to see like the history. I wish we had more time to spend. So to kind of carry that on to Howard, those guys, those kids, I should say, they're to win, we win, and they don't want to celebrate, about themselves. The first thing they do is they give the game ball to our trainer. Wow. Just because of everything that he's done this offseason, the stress, the headaches. And that was the first person, not many people go back and watch that, but the ESPN Plus game, the very end, they show everybody huddled around the trainer, giving him the game ball and celebrating him. And that's just kind of a reflection of how our program is. We always want to give people their due. We're never going to delay gratitude. And that's just what's so special about Bellarmine. That's why I was a manager there officially for 4 years, student coach for another year. I did it for another half year. I've been at Bellarmine almost 9 years. That's why I can't get away. I love it way too much. I love the people, the program, and it's everything I believe in.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you brought up the Duke game too, because I've been when I was looking back through old seasons, like Bellarmine has played some in Louisville a few different times. You've played some D1 opponents, but it's so much different when you've made that jump to D1 yourself.
Yeah, it counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're a guy that's been there for, you said 9 years. So you've been there when, you went in there as a D2 team. No one really expected much. And now you're playing a D1 schedule as a D1 team. Like that's just such a cool thing to be through the whole transition, like yourself.
No, it's especially how everything when I came in, how it looks to now as it looks, going in as a Division I program. Like last summer, we spent $600,000. We had a really, really great family. His name's Dr. Lynn, his wife, Miss Cindy Lynn. He's an eye doctor. He's got tons of practices. I don't know how many exactly, but he came to a game. He loved it. And he made this commitment that we're going to have this brand new locker room. We've got, theater type seatings. I'm probably going to undersell this. It's like a 96-inch TV that we watch film on. We've got like a refueling area. We've got brand new lockers. And whenever I first came in there, I'll never forget this. I walk in and there's purple carpet. Like I'm talking like maybe hadn't been changed since 80s or 90s. Like it's not even the right color maroon. It was legitimately purple. And now you walk in there and it's you've got all of our trophies on the wall. You've got like state-of-the-art carpet. Like the carpet's it's like waterproof carpet so the guys don't ruin it and stuff like that. A lot of bang for your buck in carpet as far as I'm concerned, but just seeing the change and how everything is kind of getting elevated. We've even, moved to the Freedom Hall venue that hasn't been used since Louisville left. We've made that locker room our own, so our guys feel at home. We even renovated that. So now it's just kind of taken step by step, making this a day-to-day, like we've got to make it feel like we're in Division I, not like we're making the jump. It's got to feel like we're 5 years into it, not our first year.
Yeah. That's the carpet thing. I think that's kind of funny, with all the new celebrations where, coaches come in and guys come in with water bottles and they're dumping it all over the place. So now Bellarmine doesn't have to worry about that now if they need to have those after their big wins. EJ, I think you had a few other questions about the transition you wanted to ask?
Yeah. So I guess you've been there for 9 years, and I'm not sure if this is something that you would have heard about or been involved in. But what was the transition like in terms of like how far before? So you made the move on June 18th, 2019. How far before 2019 did you know or have an idea, or was there talk of possibly making the jump up to D1?
So ever since I've been there, there's been talks. At this point, 2 years ago, you kind of just roll your eyes. Like I've heard it from everything like Bellarmine's adding a football team to anything you can think of about Division I. And, at that point, I didn't really think of it as a possibility. And then, about 2 months before that, you start kind of getting a gauged interest, seeing if I would be, willing to step up in another role just because I was at high school, DCL's high school in Louisville, coaching high school. And, you start hearing this and, I worked Bellarmine camps the 1 year I was out, I worked them. And then you start hearing like, oh, this might be a possibility. And then we're actually working camp the day it was announced. I'm over at we have makeshift tennis courts that are basketball goals. I'm working there while they announce it. And, that everybody's asking me questions. I'm like, I don't know. I've only heard rumors like you guys. Like even the players, like, all of our players were recruited to come to D2 to try and win a national championship. They weren't sold on these promises that we were going to Division I. Like they were sold on coming to our program and building a winning culture and sustaining that. Mm-hmm. And then it's just kind of an added bonus that, now, it's always in the back of those kids' minds. Like there's that D1 or bust. And now like those kids get to compete nightly with Division I talent, just like Duke, we just talked about that. But now they get to see kind of if they belong. And I think over the first couple games, we had a tough loss to Chattanooga. And after that game, you can kind of look around and they were disappointed, but they knew that they belonged. And that's kind of the steps that we're taking right now is, now that we know that we belong, we're trying to make those steps. And that's one of the changes from Division II to Division I is just the margin of error. Like the margin of error is so small. Like credit to Chattanooga, who we played at Freedom Hall. We took away everything we wanted to take away, and it's what Division I's all about. They went in there and they were able to stick shots. I think they made 17 threes, like a school record, but we weren't letting them get into the box, which we call, and that's just the margin of error. There are going to be some nights where those teams, they're good players. They're going to hit shots. That's all you can let them do. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the transition so far.
Absolutely. And the game was close late. It was a winnable game, and Bellarmine was there, as you said, and ready to win that game. And yes. It was awesome to see that there's no pause for them as far as making that jump, that they're just ready to go out and compete no matter what. And that's awesome. So I guess, Alex, did you have a question about the Wolf of the Week?
Yeah. So this is kind of something interesting I came across when I was doing a little research on the program. Can you explain to our listeners what the Wolf of the Week is? And so you've been there 9 years, and I also am curious, were you there when it started? Was this something that predates you? And just kind of get into that a little bit.
So we have a Wolf of the Week, just like you guys were just saying. Every Monday when we got to kind of change everything up, we have a shooting competition. And whoever wins that, they get to award the Wolf of the Week. And so it's not the person that wins it, but it's the person that wins the shooting competition gets to give it to whoever they think is deserving of the Wolf of the Week. So we'll have guys, like one of our senior captains, he wins it more than, like, I want to say, if there's, let's just say 22 times, he probably would win it 20 out of 22 times. And so it's not really, I don't think it kind of gives out the nobody's really wants to win it, so us letting him pick who he thinks, it means all the world to those guys. So like we've had, like, one of our freshmen got it because he's been working his ass off. I don't know if I can say ass, but sorry.
You're good.
Like we'll give it away to people who are just working their tail off, and it has nothing to do with the shooting game of the week. It's just whoever is deserving in their teammates' eyes. And I think that's the most important thing. We can praise all these guys all you want. We can give these awards out as coaches, but if you're a player and another player looks at you and gives you this Wolf of the Week, like that's pretty special, because it's not coming from coaches. Because sometimes players get this thing that coaches have favorites, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if you get recognition from your peers, that means the world. And so it kind of started. We had Coach McDonald, who's the baseball coach at U of L. He came and talked to our guys about being Wolves. And so one of the assistant coaches, Doug Davenport, we talked about the next day. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago when I was still there, about having a Wolf of the Week type thing. And it just kind of stuck from there. We found these like cool, obnoxious tank tops, like that you'd probably see at concerts or NASCAR events. And they're just like, it's so full of color. It's like, I want to say it's so 80s. Like you just got like a wolf, a big wolf, and it's like purple, and it's just kind of obnoxious. But those guys wear it for warm-ups. I'm sure when we go out to games and they wear warm-ups, everybody's like, what is this wolf? Like, what is this wolf t-shirt? Because we're not the Bellarmine Wolves, we're the Bellarmine Knights. Mm-hmm. But it's, as a program, we all know what it means, and it's a special honor to get that, because we're in front of the team, whether it's before film, before practice, and those guys take great pride in getting awarded that.
I really like that. It's kind of a thing that you can like build team bonding with. Yeah, I really I forgot what I was going to say. So I think it shows a lot about the program because, like you were saying before, where you guys rallied around the trainer that had to put in so much work in the beginning of the year, and then this is
Mhm.
kind of the same thing where you get peers to recognize other peers. I think it just shows a lot about the Bellarmine program and how selfless the guys are. I don't know, is that something that coaches will look for in recruiting, like guys that fit the mold a little bit more than maybe some other programs would?
So
Or
you hit the nail on the head. So as coaches, we can find talented guys. Like it's kind of a cliche, but we kind of try and find guys that fit us, not who we're going to fit them in, and we'll adapt to them. Those guys have to be Bellarmine guys, and that's coach will always say this. Our players are our best recruiters because we'll have those guys, interact. We'll bring them out on the weekend, whether it's in the summer. We'll have them here on Thursday. Those guys will interact playing pickup. We'll go feed them at like a steakhouse, wherever we're going to eat as a team, so that those recruits can interact with our team. And then it's just kind of like, after everything's gone, we'll kind of ask, a couple of our guys, like, is he a Bellarmine guy? And sometimes like it works out. Like sometimes we think, he's a Bellarmine guy and, he'll choose somewhere else. All the guys that we've had, I talked about CJ Fleming. CJ Fleming's brother played at Knights Hall his junior year, and he came and he committed before even like going to see anybody else because he saw how our guys interacted. He saw how we played, our style of play, how selfless it is, and he said that's where I want to be. And he made a call, and basically it was like I want to come there before even coming. And I'll say this: CJ Fleming is the Bellarmine guy of all Bellarmine guys. Like he puts everybody first. He's in the gym all day long. And that's why he wins so many shooting games, just because he is what Bellarmine's all about. And not just him. Like I'll say this team is probably the most Bellarmine. There's no like outliers. Like everybody's in it for the same reasons. And I think that's what makes this transition year so special, is because everybody's kind of the right Bellarmine guy. And like there have been years in the past where there have been a couple guys that are close, and then there are some years, and I think that's what makes the best years, is when all 15 guys, all 17 guys, however many we've had on a roster, like each of those final, like I was on one Final Four year in 2017, and that's what I compare it to. All those guys were around each other all day long. Like it didn't matter if it was student managers, if it was players, and that's why I think it's so special, because these guys, there's no ego whatsoever, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Because like there are some places, like I've got buddies that who's managed at U of L, who've managed at UK, and they never hang out with those players. Whereas if you're a student manager at Bellarmine, you're hanging out with those guys. They're not going to let you do anything else because it's Bellarmine. We're all going to be together. I think that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, I love to hear that because I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a big Wisconsin fan. I graduated from the university. And when you're talking about Bellarmine guys, Wisconsin has had those kind of Wisconsin guys, like the glue guys, like a Josh Gosser, a Zach Showalter. I don't know if you know who they are, but those types of guys. And that's just something that's really cool to hear from a program of Division I status, like a team that everybody buys in, everybody's together, they're all in. They like hanging out with each other. Basketball's a long season, so they better like each other if you want to go somewhere. But I think Nate, you had some questions that might.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to interrupt for a sec. Sorry.
There you go.
I just wanted to say how neat that is that as a coach, where a guy is going to commit just meeting the guys. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Scott Davenport is 365 and 111 as a coach. So obviously very successful. and guys I'm sure love playing for him with the success he's had. But just when you can have a team that's going to bond like that, and when it gets deep into the season and you need a guy to step up or a team to step up, maybe you're down by 10 points with a couple minutes left and you need to win that game, that's the team that you're going to bet on and count on to win that game as a team. They're brothers, and they're going to come back and they're going to fight for the win.
And so I'll just add to this just because it came to me. We had a game where we were shooting the lights out. This was, I want to say 2 years ago. It was my last year undergrad. And we had a junior, his name's CC. We call him CC, Shavarsky Corbe. He had 37 points going in, and coach wanted to pull him. And our probably our best player of that team, Adam Eberhard, heard coach tell him to go in and kind of waited just so CC could get 40 points. He had a three. Everybody he's like, go get CC. And Adam stands up, just kind of waits until CC hits the three and then runs to the scorer's table just because he wanted to see him get 40. Nobody cared about anybody that not being them being mad or frustrated about, CC like having a great game. They wanted to see CC get 40 points. And I think that's the type of specialness, because Adam could win anywhere else and been that guy. Like he was that guy, I should say that. But like that night, he knew it was CC's night. And so he's like, okay, coach, I hear you. And then just kind of strolls until CC gets 40 and then goes and subs him out. I think that's pretty cool. That kind of sums up Bellarmine.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you're kind of turning me into a Bellarmine fan. I'm not going to lie.
Good.
Like, that's awesome. Just the selflessness.
Yeah.
So you said you've been at Bellarmine for 9 years. Try not to pick the first D1 win, but what is your favorite moment so far?
Okay. So the best D1 moment or just best moment?
Best moment.
Okay, so this is going to get really selfish. I don't like to do this, but like my best moment is as a student manager. I 6 years, 5 years, whatever it was. The year before my last year, we went to the Final Four and we clinched the Elite Eight game, or we clinched a spot for the Elite Eight. We won Sweet 16, and all the guys are celebrating. All the players are getting their due, and then we get to like the final. We're walking around the gym, and we stop. We get like we're about to end the celebration. The players give the trophy to Grant, one of our other managers that was on the team, and let him, kind of hold it up. And then, I hate, this is going to sound very cliche. I don't like being in the spotlight. I would much rather be in the background. And so they all find me knowing that they give me the trophy. I'm just going to sit there and look at it. And then all of a sudden I feel all the guys like start picking me up and throwing me on their shoulders. And that's probably my personal favorite moment, just because it makes, as a student manager, it made everything I did, whether it was laundry, anything, you name it, wiping the floor up, my first year doing like water, giving the water bottles out, everything that I had done that was little, that's one of the things I think gets lost as being a student manager, is everybody kind of wants to get in the spotlight. A lot of student managers, I've heard about some from bigger programs. They all just kind of want to be, buddy with the players, try and get to all the parties and stuff. But, my biggest thing is I just wanted to do my job. And that moment of getting like picked up, having my moment, and I hate saying that, but it was very special. And that kind of goes to show how, they're not worried about them celebrating. They're more worried about their student manager celebrating. And I think that's what's so cool is, we talked about the trainer, how they gave him the game ball after the first win. They've done that for every student manager just about, whether it's clinching a conference tournament, championship. They'll let the student manager who works the most have their due. I think that's what makes them so special, is they're not worried about them, but worried about everybody that helps them, and they don't want to let that go unnoticed. But that's probably my favorite moment.
Well, and it just shows how they know, the players know how important every single person in the Bellarmine program is to the success you guys have had. And
Yes.
I mean, you don't see that as some of the bigger programs. It's them first, the team, but it's just every person in the administration and the support staff, all the fans, and just it's so cool to hear that, because sometimes you don't hear or see that. And what a moment to have when you clinch something like that and they pick you up and you're the star right there. I just can't even imagine. That'd be so much fun.
I was more worried about dropping the trophy, to be honest. Like, I wasn't expecting all that, and then I've got the trophy in my hands, and now I'm almost tilting back because I got the trophy up. And then I promise you, if I would have dropped that thing, I would have been yelled at or fired. That was the biggest concern at that moment.
How heavy was it?
It's probably 10 or 15 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Might have ended up on not top 10 too for that one.
Now I would have never showed my face ever again. I think the biggest thing is we also, pre-COVID, I should say COVID kind of ruined this. Coach is pretty adamant. We've done this in the past. I say every year before this year, just because of all the sanitation concerns. But all the players in the preseason will do the laundry, and not just the players, the coaches. They'll do it as well. We'll have a schedule. Everybody will have a day, even Coach Davenport, and that way everybody just shows what those guys do on a day-to-day basis. Once the season starts officially, it's the manager's jobs, to get the laundry done. But each day during that preseason, every single guy has got to, figure out between their schedule of basketball, between classes, how they're going to get the laundry done. And I think that just goes to show the appreciation for the managers, because then after that, they can't really, they know what it's like, and they can't really complain, because they've had that day where they're like, damn, like, how am I going to get this done? And then that's those guys' job every day. Mm-hmm. And so they're a little bit more lenient. And then throughout the season, they won't not touch it. Like, if there's stuff in the dryer, those guys, they know one of the managers is, in a test. They'll go down, grab it, pass it out real quick. Like, nothing's beneath our guys. And I think that all starts from, having them take turns doing that, and just going through like a manager's like day in the life.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to transition it more to you. Okay. How did you get into basketball, and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, so this is not a long story, but I'll try to make it short. So my first job ever was, I was a bat boy for the Louisville Bats, which is the AAA affiliate for the Reds. And so I did that my final 2 years of high school. And let me preface it by this, because I just thought about this. At Stay Next, my freshman year, I was a manager for the basketball team, only so I could get into the gym and shoot. I was the world's worst high school manager. Let me just put that on the record. Like, they'd be doing 5-on-5. I'm supposed to be keeping the score, and I'm shooting at the side goal. That's all I'm doing. Like, you've got balls rolling on the floor, and stopping practice because Scooter's over there shooting basketball. And by Christmas, I'm kind of like, whatever. I just kind of went to the gym. Now I'm over it. And to think that I go into college being a student manager is just, it's hilarious. But so I'm a bat boy, move on, go to college, and my boss, Derek Jewell, who's still the equipment manager for the Bats, he's like, why don't you email, it'd be something good for you to do in the off season. And I was a baseball guy through and through. It's really funny. I go back to, like, I went to a high school reunion, and, I tell some of the people that I went to high school with, I'm like, I'm in coaching and trying to, be a coach. And they'll be like, oh, you're coaching baseball. I'm like, no, I'm coaching basketball. And like, they're like, you're always a baseball guy. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's kind of funny. So I get an email back saying like, come on, we need a manager. We've got 2 senior managers. It's lucky enough they let me come on. And so, after 2 years, I kind of get, burned out, let's say, because I'm doing baseball and basketball. And by the end of the year, into my sophomore year, I had been promoted to the visiting clubhouse manager, which handles everything logistically for visiting teams. And so that's full-time classes, basketball managing, and then a full-time job in baseball. And so, after that, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go baseball, just because I didn't think I was ever going to go into coaching. And so when the baseball next year, I did half a year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a regular job, let's say, and I'll finish school, whatever. But I wasn't gonna do baseball or basketball just because it was just so much on like a young person's plate. And so I get back next year. I was gonna be a police officer, whatever. That didn't go through. I went back to school, and I just on a whim stopped by the gym, just go visit those guys. And they needed something. They needed like a rebounder or something. I was just in the corner, like I didn't want a big ordeal. And somebody's like, oh, can somebody rebound over there? And I just like sprint out and I go rebound just because I was like, kind of jonesing to get back in. And after that, like I got a text from one of the assistant coaches like, hey, do you like want to help out? Like, are you in school? I was like, yeah, I'd love to. Like, I'm going back to school. Like, I'd love to get back into it. Get back in to managing. That next summer, I worked Jay Billis's camp, which I worked twice. And going down there, I just, as an experience, I kind of did it on a whim. Like, I was like, I'll go down there. Just, when are you ever going to meet Jay Billis is my whole thought. So I drove down to Charlotte. And when I got there, like, it was kind of funny to me because I didn't think I knew a lot about basketball. And then I went down there and, you kind of get involved, like coaching drills and everything like that. And then I kind of knew more than I thought I did. And so after that, like, I was like, I think I might go into coaching. And then the best thing about being a small program like Bellarmine, like, we don't have the luxury of like this big support staff. So after that summer, I get back in and I try to do as much as I can. Bo Braden and Doug Davenport, who are still here now, they let me, help them with whatever it was, being in the office all day when they were, and it just kind of keep growing. The next year, Bo left to go to Morehead State. I got to help Doug Davenport even more, along with Jake Thielen, who's director of operations down in Georgia. And that year I got more hands-on experience just because I had been 1 year immersed in college basketball, like as a staff. Like, I was in every staff meeting, as everything, just because I was showing up. It was just kind of funny. Like, it's just kind of funny to think that just by showing up, you kind of get more responsibility. And I think that's something that, we have a manager that wants to coach. And that's something I tell them is just showing up, you'll be amazed the amount of responsibility you'll get. And then, so after that last year, I got to help as an undergrad. I got a GA spot at Tusculum University with JT Burton, who does a great job. He's still there. They're receiving votes in Division II polls right now. And after about a month or 2 months, I started having like panic attacks, and I just didn't know what they were coming from. I thought it might be a little bit of homesick. It might be, the amount of work I was doing. I just had no idea. I had to get that under control. And I don't really have a problem talking about it now, just because everything, I feel like I've gotten everything under control. But, that's a conversation I had with him. I was like, I don't know if it's what it is. I appreciate the opportunity, but I got to figure this out first. I go back home, and while I'm figuring all that stuff out, I get an opportunity to coach at DCL's high school with a former assistant at Bellarmine, Damian Anderson. That year, I thought I was done coaching college. So I was really content. I was going to go be a teacher. I was getting my teaching degree, going to coach high school basketball. And then, like we talked about earlier, I started hearing murmurings about Division I move from Bellarmine. I was already on the hook for, helping those guys out with basketball camp, just for how long I've been there. I know how to do all the operation side of stuff. And that's kind of what got me in the door. It's just, being vital to helping out with camp, knowing how we do everything. And so that's, once that conversation took place, I said, listen, like, I understand this next year, the final year of D2 is, I'm not gonna have anything like, all that stuff, the pay or, graduate classes start next year. I would much rather start the last year of D2 with transitioning into college coaching and being on top of the game, rather it's trying to catch up. They allowed me to join the program, come back, and then as a volunteer assistant coach, and just kind of got my legs under me. And then this year stepped into a graduate manager role, more the operations side. But like, honestly, it's the same thing as being I talked about student manager. There are days that I'm on the operations side. There are days that I'm the video coordinator. There are days that I'm assistant coach. It's like being a Swiss Army knife. Like, there are so many roles that I have, and I don't take them for granted, because someone's got to do the job, and that's all I can do. I'm not worried about what's next. I'm not worried about, I think that's the problem with coaching, is everybody's worried about their next move and their next big paycheck, as opposed to just getting the job done. And I love where I'm at. I love the people that I'm around, because I wouldn't trade being anywhere else than where I'm at right now, because of the basketball knowledge that's Doug Davenport, who is video coordinator at U of L with Rick Pitino, Bo Braden, who's at Morehead State University and University of Tennessee as a video coordinator, Coach Davenport, who is with Denny Crum, Rick Pitino, 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and I know we brought up his win-loss record, which it's unbelievable. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's a lot of winning basketball. It's doing basketball the right way, and that's the best part about being a Bellarmine, is just, we do things the right way off the court, on the court, and then the group that I'm surrounded with. I'm also with Al Davis, who came in with me. We actually coached at DCLs together. He played on the Final Four team, 2017 team, Defensive All-Player of the Year. So, I mean, between that staff, like, it's great to come to work every day, knowing that those guys all have the same intentions, and it's making Bellarmine great, because 3 of us, me, Doug, and Al, all graduated from Bellarmine. There are 4 of us, Coach Davenport, Doug Davenport, Bo Braden, and myself, who are all from Louisville, Kentucky. We're all in the same city. We all want to see Bellarmine succeed for that reason. And, Al made Louisville home, so I'll give him the pass as an honorary Louisvillian. But it's just, we all want to see the same thing succeed, and I think that's why that's where I love being where I'm at. And I don't really look past it, just because I want to see Bellarmine succeed, and then what happens from that will take me wherever, as far as career or whatever after that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. It also just goes to show, like, putting yourself in proximity of people doing what you want to do, how important and impactful that can be. I know I have a cousin who coaches Division I softball, and I was, thinking about coaching as a kind of career path for a little bit. And he said, you get into a place, and even if you're coaching like the JVs or the freshmen or something, like, you put all you have into that and make sure that is like the most important team in game that you can, like, you need to put all your effort into that, because that will get you to the next level. And for a guy at a program like Bellarmine, a place that means so much to you, and a place that does things the right way. That's just such a special place to be.
Yep. I think if you don't do it, like you said, if you don't put all your energy, all your effort into that team, I feel that players pick up on that. Like if you're there just for your own motives, and I mean, like I'm not gonna kid myself. Everybody's got their own motives. Like, whether it's players want to play more minutes. They want to, if they're good enough, they want to play professionally. As coaches, we all want to move up and go to a bigger program. But I feel like the best thing you can do is do your job, do it really well, whatever role that is. And if you're asked to do more than that, like, take it on. But if not, make sure you're the best at your role. And that's what I try. That's what I've tried to do. And that's kind of how I was able to get more experience as a student manager, is because I could do my job really well. And then people count on me to do other tasks than what I was just asked of. And I think that's half the battle in anything you do.
I know you kind of touched on this with what you're talking about. So you're at Bellarmine right now, and you don't really see anything further. You're just focusing on Bellarmine right now. But I guess as far as job title or whatever, I guess what are your career aspirations? Do you like the assistant coach? Would you prefer to be a head coach at some point? I know you're pretty focused on what you're doing right now, and that's awesome. But just, I guess, goals.
I would love to be an assistant, or I'd love to be. So here's kind of what I would like to move up to director of operations at some point, and then assistant coach, and then somehow, hopefully someday, I'm able to become a head coach. I would love to do that. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, because honestly, like, I've gotten more out of this journey than I think I ever thought I would, if that makes sense. As a freshman in high school, being a terrible high school manager, if you would have told me that I would have coached a game at Duke, I would have called you out. I would have said you're an idiot. And I think it's that type of stuff that, that's the only thing I can control, is just showing up. I said it earlier, showing up half the battle, the other half is doing your job. If it's meant to be for me to be assistant coach, it'll happen. If it's meant to be for me to be a head coach, it'll happen. But, I'm not worried about becoming the youngest head coach somewhere. I'm not worried about becoming the youngest assistant coach or being on a 30 for 30. I think that if I work hard enough, it'll happen. I've just got to pay my dues. I've just got to, continue to learn each day. And being surrounded by the assistant coaches and the head coach that I have, I'm not worried about the learning part of it. I just got to control what I can control, and then everything else will take care of itself.
That's a great outlook. And as you were saying, when you started out, when you're a high school manager, just looking to get some court time, not a bad return on investment to now be working at a D1 program. So,
all my buddies from high school, they love the free open gym. That's all I hear about. That's the one bad thing about COVID, is we used to play Sunday night pickup. And now COVID, we can't get the gym anymore. So now I've got all these guys text me every Sunday. I'm like, man, there's this thing called COVID. I don't know if y'all heard of it.
Well, and Freedom Hall is awesome. I know when I was watching the Chattanooga game, I was like, holy cow, this was I guess I didn't know the story. It used to be Louisville's gym, but I was like, this is where they were playing as a D2 team. It's beautiful in there. So I can't wait to see some students and fans in there.
Oh yeah, let's hope we get back to normal. Now I think we had about around 1,000 at Freedom Hall for that game. We can gradually start getting bigger. It just depends on the restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
But the floor, if you notice, is the same floor. We actually had our floor redone before this year, before we knew about the Freedom Hall move.
Oh really?
It's the same floor that we have on our campus facility. And then they're going to gradually, kind of make improvements. But yeah, I mean, the history, if you just look it up, all the people that have been in there, like, UCLA played there with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Wow.
There's, you've got Coach Pitino, Coach Crum. I can't roll down the list like our head coach can, but he's also, he's lived a lot of that history being on those staffs at Freedom Hall. And it's just it's a very awesome experience, especially for a kid that grew up here. And I went to countless games at Freedom Hall. It's very cool to be in there with the Bellarmine court. It's really, really cool.
That's so cool. Just where you grew up and now you're coaching and watching them play teams is such I'm sure a neat nostalgic thing. One last thing I want to touch on. So before we heard, really, because I saw Bellarmine play Duke, and at the time I didn't even know Bellarmine had made the jump to D1. I had heard about the school. So I guess as we've done the research, as I guess is hopefully evident now, but for people that haven't done the research and for people that haven't heard about Bellarmine, what are some things that you want people to know about the school, the program, or I guess Louisville in general, if there are any tips or tricks about Louisville?
I think the biggest thing, if you do the research, like about, NBA draft nights, who leads, the market share for TV, like the Louisville community loves college basketball. I'm not saying like, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because around here it's, UK U of L is the best rivalry, but like everybody around this area loves college basketball. And I think that's the most special part is that, Bellarmine could be a team for everybody. I think that's our whole biggest thing is like, we don't have anybody in the fight of U of L versus UK. We can be everybody's team. Mm-hmm. I think, kind of the things I've touched on today of, how selfless our guys are, how they put everybody before each other. And just, if you watch the style of play, like how we share the ball, how fundamentally sound we are. Some games, knock on wood, I don't jinx us. We go and do what we're not supposed to, but I just think we play the game the right way in a city that loves college basketball, and our players do things on off the court the right way. I think that's the biggest thing I would want people to know about Bellarmine. I think it's very evident if you watch a game, which hopefully, people listening, if you tune into a game, I know all of our games will be on ESPN Plus for our conference schedule, but it's just how much this community loves college basketball, and it trickles down to the university. Our athletic staff, I couldn't imagine the nightmares they went through as far as just basketball wise, the nightmares that, having two places to go, making sure everything's the exact same. I was able to do that, but as far as taking care of a whole venue like that, our AD, all of our assistant ADs, our compliance, everybody was up in the stands, making sure that Freedom Hall was the venue for Wednesday night. And it showed off. It went really, really well, in my opinion. There wasn't, as far as I could tell, any hiccups. I think that's because from the top to the bottom, everybody loves Bellarmine basketball. The Bellarmine community loves Bellarmine basketball. It's not just the men's team, it's the women's team too. It's just all of our players, everybody knows our players in the community, whether it's, them going to Qdoba and having people say, go Knights. It's even people at the airport who are traveling. We had a flight from Atlanta to Louisville when we left Washington, D.C. We had people on the flight saying, go Knights. Wow. Like, it's just, it's the community's team. I'm not going to try and get in a rivalry about who's best, who's worse, but I feel like it's a team that, a community can get behind. It's just, you can see that everybody from the top down cares. I think that's the best part. And that's one of the best things, coach will always say this is he's never going to apologize for caring. And I don't think anybody in the program is going to apologize for caring either.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's really cool to see that or hear you say that because Kentucky is such a basketball crazed state. With the Kentucky and Louisville and even like Western Kentucky and programs like that. But I know you said you're not on either side of the rivalry, but hopefully in a few years, Bellarmine can kind of wiggle their way in there and make some noise in the Kentucky basketball landscape.
Let's hope so.
I guess before I give some shout outs, Alex or Nate, anything else you wanted to add, or Scooter, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just want to thank you guys. I really, really appreciate you guys having me on. If y'all are ever in Louisville, whether it's a game day or if we've got practice, you all are my guests. Y'all can come whenever. I'll make sure y'all have tickets. I'll make sure y'all can come to practice. Just let me know.
Cool.
That is so awesome. And,
yeah, awesome.
And once this COVID thing is over, we definitely want to get out on Freedom Hall and check it out, check the team out, and watch you guys in action. Just what a program it sounds like, and really excited to see this season. We've got some games coming up. Really excited to see those. And ESPN, just to give a plug to ESPN Plus, it's awesome. There's a lot of good basketball on there. And now hearing you say you can watch every conference game on there definitely makes me happier in my purchase with that. So anyone else, this is not an ESPN sponsored podcast, but definitely get that to watch some games.
Not sponsored yet.
Not sponsored yet. So just a couple of, I guess, shout outs I want to give. Please give Scooter a follow on Twitter at Scooter G and the number 2. And then the Bellarmine Men's Basketball Twitter is at Bellarmine Hoops, spelled BELLARMINE Hoops. So feel free and please give those guys a follow. You won't regret it. Great social media already that I've seen. Just really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. We've gone for about an hour and just chatting with you and getting to know the program and getting to know you. Just really excited to see you in the future and see how the team takes off.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. You all have a great night, and thank you everyone for listening.